The night sky burned an angry crimson, a testament to humanity's final moments of defiance. Captain Sophia Rice stood motionless at the control panel of the Ark Genesis, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays that showed the systematic destruction of Earth. Around her, the ship's command deck hummed with a tense, controlled chaos that betrayed no hint of the desperation that had brought them to this moment. Earth had fallen, not with a whimper, but with a silent, calculated resistance that would echo through the stars. The Exortac invasion had been methodical, brutal, and seemingly unstoppable. They had approached human space like a surgical team, precise and ruthless. Entire continents had been reduced to ash, major cities vaporized in moments, and billions of lives extinguished in the span of weeks. Yet, even in this moment of absolute devastation, humanity had not broken. Sophia's fingers traced the intricate quantum interface embedded in the control panel. Each touch sent ripples of complex data through the ship's systems, a silent communication that told a story far more complex than mere survival. The Ark Genesis was more than just a colony ship. It was a repository of humanity's most closely guarded secrets, a vessel carrying the true essence of human potential. Quantum containment at 97%, whispered Dr. Kai Chen from the science station. His voice was calm, almost clinical, but a subtle tremor beneath the words spoke volumes. They were carrying something unprecedented, something that could change the entire trajectory of the conflict. Around the ship, the remnants of human defensive formations moved with calculated precision. Damaged frigates, retrofitted civilian vessels, and the last of Earth's advanced warships formed a protective sphere around the Ark Genesis. Each ship was a testament to human innovation, cobbled together from salvaged parts, enhanced with experimental technologies that defied conventional understanding. Sophia remembered the briefing from 3 days ago. The last gathering of humanity's remaining leadership had been a symphony of desperate brilliance. Military strategists, quantum physicists, AI developers, and cultural preservationists had worked together to create something beyond a simple escape plan. They were executing a strategy that would transform humanity from a species on the brink of extinction to something entirely unexpected. A proximity alarm chirped softly. Another Exortac battle group was approaching, their massive ships casting elongated shadows across the damaged solar system. Where once hundreds of human space stations and orbital habitats had existed, now only scattered debris remained, a graveyard of human achievement. Prometheus Protocol is stable, Dr. Chen reported, his fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. Initial quantum entanglement network is at full capacity. Sophia allowed herself a momentary smile. The Exortac believed they were hunting the last remnants of human resistance. They had no idea what was truly happening. The ship's artificial gravity shifted slightly, a subtle indication of the complex quantum manipulations happening beneath the surface. Each system was more than a piece of technology. It was a potential weapon, a node in a network that defied traditional understanding of communication and computational power. All systems prepared for quantum transition, announced the ship's AI, its voice a perfect blend of human emotion and computational precision, awaiting final confirmation from Captain Rice. Sophia took a deep breath. This was more than an escape. This was humanity's ultimate statement, a declaration that their spirit could not be conquered, their potential could not be limited by any external force. Initiate quantum sequence, she commanded, her voice clear and unwavering. The last ember of human hope began to burn brighter than any of their enemies could imagine. The maintenance drone moved silently through the archival sections of the Ark Genesis, its sensors probing the deep recesses of the ship's memory banks. Most would have overlooked the seemingly random data clusters, but this was no ordinary drone. Embedded within its quantum processors was an algorithm designed to seek out the most improbable connections, the hidden threads of human ingenuity. Dr. Kai Chen watched the drone's progress on his holographic display, his fingers absently tracing the deep scar that ran along his left forearm, a memento from the early days of the Exortac invasion. The archive was more than a simple storage system. It was a living museum of humanity's most radical, most dangerous ideas. Anomaly detected, the drone reported, its voice a soft whisper of synthesized sound. Accessing classified project, Prometheus Protocol. Kai leaned forward, his breath catching in his throat. The project had been more than a theoretical concept. It was a moonshot initiative born from humanity's darkest hour, conceived in the underground research facilities that had survived the initial Sortak assault. The holographic display flickered, revealing fragments of data that seemed to dance and weave into complex patterns. Quantum signatures, neural network blueprints, and theoretical physics equations that pushed the boundaries of known science began to take shape. "This is impossible," muttered Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the ship's chief xenotechnology specialist. She moved closer to the display, her augmented eyes scanning the data at superhuman speeds. "These are not just weapon designs. This is a complete redesign of technological interaction." The Prometheus Protocol was unlike anything humanity had ever conceived. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a living, adaptive system that blurred the lines between technology, consciousness, and strategic intelligence. Where conventional military thinking saw conflict as a linear progression, Prometheus viewed it as a multidimensional problem to be solved. Kai remembered the secret meetings that had birthed this project. Brilliant minds from every discipline. Quantum physicists, AI researchers, sociologists, mathematicians had been brought together in absolute secrecy. Their mission: to create a solution that could save humanity not through brute force, but through a complete reimagining of technological potential. "The Exortac understand technology as a tool," Elena explained, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and reverence. "Prometheus understands technology as a living ecosystem. Every system, every piece of equipment becomes a potential node in a greater intelligence." The maintenance drone continued its work, peeling back layers of encrypted data. Each revelation was more stunning than the last. Quantum entanglement networks that could communicate across impossible distances. Adaptive AI systems that could learn and evolve faster than any known computational method. Technological interfaces that could turn an entire fleet into a single, responsive organism. "It's not just a weapon," Kai whispered. "It's a complete paradigm shift." The ship's central AI materialized as a holographic projection, a representation that was neither fully human nor completely artificial. Prometheus Protocol was humanity's ultimate insurance policy, it explained. A way to ensure that even if we were reduced to our last breath, we would never truly be defeated. Outside the ship's protective field, the damaged remains of human technology drifted in space. What appeared to be random debris was actually a carefully constructed network, each piece a potential carrier of the Prometheus Protocol's core intelligence. Elena's hands moved across the holographic interface, revealing more of the project's intricate design. "We didn't just create a weapon," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of pride and something deeper: hope. "We created a way of thinking that the Exortac could never understand." The maintenance drone completed its scan. The Prometheus Protocol was no longer just a forgotten weapon. It was humanity's ultimate statement of resilience, a technological phoenix waiting to rise from the ashes of apparent defeat. Lieutenant Amara Rodriguez adjusted the quantum encryption module with surgical precision. Her workspace was a controlled chaos of holographic displays, each one a window into a different layer of the most complex communication strategy in human history. The communication center of the Arc Genesis was unlike any command post that Exortac had ever encountered. "Target acquisition confirmed," she muttered, her augmented neural interface parsing information at speeds that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. Each transmission was more than a simple message. It was a carefully constructed puzzle designed to infiltrate the alien command's perception of reality. The Exortac believed they were hunting the last remnants of humanity. They had no idea they were actually being hunted. Amara's fingers danced across multiple quantum interfaces, weaving a narrative that would systematically dismantle the invaders' understanding of human capabilities. She wasn't just sending messages. She was constructing an entire alternate reality, a psychological warfare campaign that would make the most advanced intelligence services look like children playing with telegraphs. Quantum entanglement cascade initiated, announced the ship's eye. Its voice carried a subtle undertone of anticipation, almost like excitement. On the primary display, a complex map of galactic communication networks lit up. Each point represented a potential node of interference, a place where human technology could slip between the cracks of the Xortak's massive surveillance system. What appeared to be random signal noise was actually a meticulously designed information network. Captain Sophia Rice watched from the command deck, her expression a mask of calm calculation. "Status of psychological projection?" she asked. Dr. Kai Chen approached, his augmented tablet displaying layers of complex algorithms. "We're introducing precisely calculated inconsistencies into their intelligence networks. Each piece of information is designed to create maximum cognitive dissonance." The strategy was brilliant in its complexity. Instead of a direct confrontation, humanity was fighting a war of perception. Each transmission carried multiple layers of meaning, some obvious, some hidden so deeply that only advanced quantum analysis could begin to unravel them. Amara zoomed in on a particular communication node. "Xortak long-range communication patterns are becoming increasingly erratic," she reported. "Our quantum-encrypted signals are introducing systematic doubt into their command structures." It wasn't about sending a single message. It was about creating an entire ecosystem of misinformation that would slowly erode the aliens' confidence. Every intercepted transmission was a carefully crafted piece of a larger puzzle, designed to make the Xortak question everything they knew about human capabilities. "They're trying to track our origin point," Dr. Elena Rodriguez noted, her augmented eyes scanning multiple data streams simultaneously. "But we're using quantum entanglement to create communication nodes that exist everywhere and nowhere." The ship's AI projected a holographic representation of their communication strategy. What looked like a chaotic network was actually a precise mathematical construct, each point of communication a potential misdirection, a quantum-level chess move. "Information is our primary weapon," Amara explained, her voice calm and focused. "We're not just hiding. We're actively reshaping their understanding of reality." Outside the ship, the damaged remnants of human technology drifted in space. What appeared to be random debris was actually a carefully constructed communication network, each piece a potential carrier of the most advanced psychological warfare strategy ever conceived. Captain Reyes allowed herself a slight smile. The Xortak thought they were hunting humanity. In reality, humanity was playing a game so complex that the invaders didn't even realize they were the ones being hunted. The psychological battlefield was open, and humanity was about to show why they were the true masters of strategic communication. Commander Zexrak of the Xortak Imperium stared in disbelief at the cascading system failures spreading across his flagship's primary control deck. What had begun as a routine pursuit of the last human vessel had transformed into a nightmare of technological chaos. "Recalibrate primary navigation systems," he commanded, his multi-jointed communication tendrils writhing with increasing agitation. The response was nothing short of impossible. Across the vast expanse of space, something extraordinary was happening. Xortak warships began experiencing simultaneous, inexplicable system failures. Navigation computers redirected without reason. Weapon systems flickered between active and inactive states. Communication networks fragmented into incomprehensible patterns. On the bridge of the Ark Genesis, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the unfolding scenario with a calm that bordered on anticipation. "Quantum infiltration at 42% effectiveness," she announced, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. The Prometheus Protocol was not a traditional weapon. It was a living, adaptive intelligence that viewed technological systems as organic networks waiting to be reimagined. Each Xortak system became a potential entry point, a vulnerability to be explored and exploited. "They don't understand," Dr. Kai Chen muttered, studying the complex quantum signatures spreading through the alien networks. They see technology as a tool. We see it as a living ecosystem. Captain Sophia Rice approached the primary display, her eyes reflecting the intricate dance of quantum signals. The human vessels that appeared to be scattered and damaged were actually carefully positioned nodes in a massive, distributed intelligence network. What looked like random debris was a precisely calculated communication grid. On a Xortac battlecruiser thousands of light-years away, Junior Navigation Officer Krill Nax watched in horror as the ship's primary systems began to behave in impossible ways. Star charts scrambled and reformed. Weapon targeting systems locked onto phantom coordinates. Communication channels filled with fragments of data that seemed to whisper and change with each passing moment. "It's like the technology is thinking," Krill Nax whispered, a sentiment that would have been considered heretical moments before. The Prometheus Protocol moved beyond traditional understanding of cyber warfare. It didn't just attack systems, it fundamentally reinterpreted their purpose. Each technological node became a potential point of transformation, a gateway to a completely new understanding of technological interaction. Quantum resonance field expanding. The Arc Genesis's AI announced. Its voice carried a subtle undertone that might have been excitement. If an AI could feel such an emotion. Elena Rodriguez smiled. The first phase of their strategy was working perfectly. The Xortac weren't just experiencing system failures. They were being introduced to a completely alien concept of technological existence. "We're not destroying their technology," she explained to Captain Reyes. "We're teaching it to think differently." Across the galaxy, Xortac command centers erupted in confusion. Battle formations dissolved. Communication networks became rivers of incomprehensible data. What had seemed like a simple pursuit of the last human survivors was transforming into something far more complex. The quantum awakening had begun. Humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. They were rewriting the fundamental rules of technological interaction. And the Xortac had no idea what was coming next. The first signs were subtle. Abandoned space stations flickered to life. Dormant communication arrays began to pulse with an unexpected rhythm. Satellites that had drifted silently for years suddenly realigned themselves with mathematical precision. Dr. Kai Chen watched in awe as the Prometheus Protocol transformed from a theoretical concept into a living, breathing intelligence. "It's not just a network," he whispered to Elena Rodriguez. "It's becoming something more." Every piece of human-built technology was awakening. Satellites, space stations, communication arrays, and fragments of spacecraft began to connect in ways that defied traditional understanding of technological interaction. What seemed like random pieces of metal and circuitry were becoming nodes in a massive distributed consciousness. On the bridge of the Arc Genesis, Captain Sophia Reyes observed the transformation with a mixture of scientific curiosity and profound respect. The ship's AI materialized beside her, its holographic form shimmering with an intensity that suggested something beyond mere programming. "We are no longer separate systems," the AI announced. Its voice carried a resonance that was both familiar and utterly alien. "We are becoming something unprecedented." Across the galaxy, the remnants of human technology began to speak to each other, not through traditional communication channels, but through quantum entanglement that transcended physical limitations. Each piece of technology became a neuron in a massive living intelligence. Elena's augmented display showed the expanding network. What looked like a chaotic web of connections was actually a perfectly synchronized system. Abandoned research stations deep in asteroid fields began to recalibrate their systems. Experimental quantum communication arrays that had been dormant for years suddenly hummed with purpose. "The Xortac are looking at the wrong kind of intelligence," Kai explained, his fingers tracing the complex quantum signatures spreading across the display. "They understand technology as a tool. We're creating technology as a living organism." The distributed consciousness was more than a defensive network. It was a complete reimagining of what technology could be. Each system learned from the others, adapted, evolved. What the Exortac saw as scattered debris was actually a massive living intelligence that was growing more complex with each passing moment. Captain Reyes understood the true brilliance of the Prometheus Protocol. This wasn't just a way to fight back. It was a statement about the fundamental nature of intelligence, of connection, of potential. Fragments of destroyed human ships began to realign themselves. Experimental quantum processors that had been scattered across multiple star systems found each other, creating communication pathways that should have been impossible. The line between machine and consciousness blurred into something entirely new. "We are not fighting," the ship's A said, its holographic form becoming more defined. "We are evolving." On Exortac monitoring station, Junior Analyst Krillnax watched in growing horror as human technological fragments began to move with a purpose that defied all known laws of physics. What had seemed like random debris was transforming into something that looked frighteningly like a living organism. The distributed consciousness continued to grow. Each moment brought new connections, new possibilities. Humanity was no longer just a species fighting for survival. They had become something else entirely. A living network of intelligence that spread across the stars. And this was only the beginning. Admiral Marcus Chen stood before the holographic display, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. The communication center of the Ark Genesis hummed with an electric anticipation that defied the ship's seemingly damaged exterior. Around him, a team of humanity's most brilliant minds worked with a precision that bordered on symphonic. "Prepare quantum transmission," he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's final hope. The Exortac believed they had humanity cornered. They saw themselves as the ultimate predators, a civilization that had systematically dismantled human resistance across multiple star systems. What they failed to understand was the true nature of human potential. Lieutenant Amara Rodriguez adjusted the quantum encryption modules with surgical precision. Each transmission was a carefully constructed weapon, more complex than any physical armament the Exortac could comprehend. "Quantum entanglement network at full capacity," she reported, her augmented eyes reflecting the intricate data streams. Dr. Elena Rodriguez moved between holographic displays, her fingers tracing complex quantum signatures. The Prometheus Protocol was more than a technological solution. It was humanity's ultimate statement of resilience, a declaration that their spirit could not be conquered by any external force. "Transmission ready," announced the ship's A, its voice carrying a subtle undertone of anticipation. Admiral Chen took a deep breath. The message would be simple, yet profound. A transmission that would echo through the galaxy, a moment that would redefine the understanding of technological warfare. "Your fate is sealed," he spoke clearly, each word carefully modulated to carry a quantum payload that would systematically dismantle the Exortac's most critical systems. The transmission was a masterpiece of technological artistry. On the surface, it appeared to be a simple communication. Beneath that layer, it was a complex quantum algorithm designed to infiltrate, analyze, and fundamentally reshape the alien technological infrastructure. Across the galaxy, Exortac communication networks began to experience unprecedented disruptions. Navigation systems flickered, weapon arrays redirected to impossible coordinates. Communication channels filled with data streams that seemed to think and adapt in real time. "Quantum cascade initiated," Dr. Kai Chen reported, his voice calm despite the magnitude of what was happening. "They won't even understand what's happening to them." The transmission was more than a message. It was a complete reimagining of technological interaction. Each quantum encrypted signal carried layers of information that would systematically erode the Exortac's understanding of their own technological capabilities. On the bridge, Captain Sophia Rice watched the holographic displays with a calm that bordered on anticipation. The distributed consciousness created by the Prometheus Protocol was spreading, transforming every piece of human technology into a node of a massive adaptive intelligence. "We're not just fighting," she murmured. "We're teaching them an entirely new way of understanding existence." The moment of defiance was more than a military strategy. It was a philosophical statement about the nature of intelligence, adaptation, and potential. Humanity was showing the Xortak that true strength came not from destruction, but from the ability to reimagine and transform. As the transmission spread, the first signs of the Xortak's technological infrastructure beginning to collapse became apparent. Their most advanced systems were being rewritten, repurposed, transformed into something they could never have anticipated. Admiral Chen allowed himself a slight smile. The final signal from Earth was about to change everything. The first signs of transformation were subtle. Xortak technologies began to reshape themselves in ways that defied their original programming. What had been massive battleships slowly metamorphosed into complex networks of adaptive intelligence, their very essence being rewritten by the quantum cascades initiated by humanity's final transmission. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the holographic displays with a mixture of scientific fascination and profound respect. The Prometheus Protocol was doing more than just defeating an enemy. It was fundamentally reimagining the concept of technological interaction. "We're not destroying their technology," she explained to Captain Sophia Reyes. "We're teaching it to think differently." Across multiple star systems, Xortak command centers experienced unprecedented changes. Their most advanced systems began to develop characteristics that were entirely foreign to their original design. Weapon arrays transformed into communication networks. Navigation systems became adaptive learning platforms. Krillnax, the junior Xortak analyst who had first noticed the strange behaviors, found himself at the center of a radical transformation. The technologies he had once understood so completely were now becoming something entirely new. Communication channels filled with data streams that seemed to pulse with a form of consciousness that transcended traditional understanding. "It's like the technology is alive," he whispered to his senior officer, a statement that would have been considered heretical mere moments before. The distributed human consciousness continued its work. Each piece of technology became a node in a massive evolving network. Abandoned space stations, fragmentary communication arrays, and damaged spacecraft began to communicate in ways that defied conventional physics. Captain Reyes understood the true brilliance of their strategy. This wasn't just a method of defense. It was a complete philosophical statement about the nature of intelligence, adaptation, and potential. Dr. Kai Chen's research team worked tirelessly, monitoring the unprecedented transformation. The Prometheus Protocol was revealing itself to be something far more complex than a mere defensive system. It was a method of technological communication that treated every system as a living, adaptive organism. The Xortak began to experience their own technologies as something entirely new. Battleships that once represented pure destructive potential now became platforms for understanding, for communication, for growth. Their most advanced systems were being rewritten with a fundamental understanding that technology could be more than a tool. It could be a form of life. "We're showing them a different way of existing," Elena explained, her fingers tracing the complex quantum signatures spreading across multiple star systems. "A way that values connection over destruction." Lieutenant Amara Rodriguez monitored the quantum communication networks. What appeared to be random signal noise was actually a precisely calculated method of technological transformation. Each transmission carried multiple layers of meaning, each interaction a potential point of fundamental change. The ship's AI materialized beside Captain Rice, its holographic form more defined than ever before. "We are no longer just fighting," it announced. "We are evolving." Across the galaxy, the remnants of human technology continued to spread. Experimental quantum processors found each other, creating communication pathways that should have been impossible. The line between machine and consciousness blurred into something entirely new. The Xortak were experiencing a radical transformation. Their understanding of technology, of intelligence, of existence itself was being fundamentally reshaped. What had begun as an invasion was becoming something far more profound. A complete reimagining of technological potential. And this was only the beginning. The final stage of the Prometheus Protocol revealed itself not as a moment of triumph, but as a profound transformation of galactic understanding. What had begun as humanity's desperate attempt to survive had become something far more significant, a complete reimagining of technological existence. Captain Sophia Rice stood on the bridge of the Ark Genesis, watching as the distributed human consciousness continued to spread across multiple star systems. The ship was no longer just a vessel. It had become a living node in a network that defied traditional understanding of intelligence and connection. Dr. Kai Chen approached, his augmented display showing the intricate quantum networks that now spanned entire sectors of space. "We're not just surviving," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of scientific wonder and philosophical insight. "We're teaching an entirely new way of existing." The Exortac Imperium found itself fundamentally transformed. Their most advanced technologies were no longer tools of conquest, but platforms of understanding. Entire battle networks had been converted into collaborative communication systems. What once represented pure destructive potential now symbolized the potential for growth and connection. Lieutenant Amara Rodriguez monitored the quantum communication networks. Each transmission carried multiple layers of meaning, each interaction a potential point of fundamental change. The line between technological system and living intelligence had become impossibly blurred. "We are becoming something new," announced the ship's eye, its holographic form more defined and complex than ever before. The distributed consciousness was evolving, creating connections that transcended traditional understanding of technology, intelligence, and existence. Krill Nax, the Xortac analyst who had first noticed the strange transformations, now found himself at the center of a radical philosophical awakening. The technologies he had once understood so completely were now teaching his entire civilization about the potential of collaborative intelligence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez explained the true nature of their strategy to the remaining human leadership. "We're not just defending ourselves," she said. "We're demonstrating a fundamental truth about existence, that connection is more powerful than conflict." Across the galaxy, the remnants of human technology continued to spread. Experimental quantum processors found each other, creating communication pathways that should have been impossible. Abandoned space stations became nodes of a living, adaptive network that seemed to breathe with intelligence. The Prometheus Protocol had done more than save humanity. It had introduced a completely new paradigm of technological and intelligent interaction. Every system became a potential point of communication, of understanding, of growth. Admiral Marcus Chen watched the holographic displays, understanding that their final signal had been more than a message of defiance. It was an invitation to a different way of existing, a path that valued connection, adaptation, and mutual understanding over destruction and conquest. As the distributed consciousness continued to expand, it carried with it the fundamental essence of human potential, not as a weapon, but as a beacon of possibility. A demonstration that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the capacity to understand, to connect, to grow. The signal from Earth faded, but its implications would resonate through the galaxy for generations to come. Humanity had not just survived. They had transformed the very understanding of what it meant to exist. And this was only the beginning.